What's good everybody, Chris here again, Chris Goes Outdoors. Today I'm going to show you how I went about hanging my bear bag kit. I in particular had the Zpacks bear bag kit. Did a video review about it, you can check that out. I'll put a thing up in the card wherever it is. I'm just going to show you how I went about hanging that, some tips and tricks that will hopefully help you on the trail. So with the bear bag kit that I received, this is the Zpacks bear bag, of course. It came with the rope right here. This is 50 feet of slick line. It has the carabiner attached as well, and it comes with this rucksack. In order to throw the bear bag, obviously you need something heavy on one side to throw up over whatever tree that you are trying to get your bear bag over. And for this, I actually didn't even use the rucksack, but I'll show you how to do that anyway. So it's got this little loop right here, and this is just how I went about doing it. Hook the carabiner right through the thing and then cinch down the little toggle right there, and then you can whip it up over whatever tree you need to throw it over. This kind of just was one extra thing to carry around, so we got rid of that, and I ended up using this little trick right here. Maybe it will be helpful, maybe it won't. Maybe a rucksack's better for you, but I figured I would share anyway. To throw my line over a tree, so again, we got the carabiner here. I would use a water bottle like this. I typically used a Gatorade bottle because it had a wider mouth, so I went around like this, usually once or twice, and then I would clip it right here with the carabiner so that it kind of pulls back on itself like that. And then I would go the opposite way with the line, wrap it around a couple times like that, and that typically was enough to get the line up and over a tree. So we're gonna give it a test run. It helps also if the water bottle is full. If it's half full, the water shifts when you throw it and the bottle ends up landing in some weird place. You don't really want that. We got a little tree over here. We'll see if we can get it. So we got the rope wrapped around the bottle like I just showed, and you want to make sure your line is nice and free. You don't want it to get tangled when you throw it up. You could, in theory, attach the end around a tree or something around you. That way, if for whatever reason it does get tangled, at least the entire thing doesn't get thrown up somehow and stuck. I never really went about doing it that way. Just make sure that at least in the ground area where you're throwing it, that the line is free of debris, so that way something doesn't get stuck and then cause your rope to get a little tangled up. And also make sure that you are not stepping on your line, because if you are, people will laugh at you. Don't ask how I know. So we'll throw it, we'll see if it works. Voila, we removed the line from the bottle, attach it to the bear bag, and I added two little yellow lines on the bear bag here just so it was easier to hook onto the included carabiner. And then move back a little and you can just lift it right up. Once you have it lifted up, I will now show you a couple different ways you can go about tying it off so it doesn't come back down and little bears and critters don't eat your food. So the first option you got, and this was the one that I used the most common, I would look for another tree around the tree that it was tied off to. You can typically find an area where like little sticks or something broke off, and I would wrap the line around that. So this tree over here has a couple, so I would just typically do a little loop or two over here, a loop or two on this one, and then maybe, you know, one more loop around something else. Yep, we got a bigger one over here. So, and this is one of the easier methods that I found personally. You could, in theory, tie some knots and stuff for the sake of demonstration anyway. I'm not gonna get crazy with it. There's no real need. That is one way to do it, and I'll give you a look at that right now. So right there, you can see the rope is coming down from the tree above us. I tied it around that little nub right there. And then it's on another nub on this side. And you could wrap it on any of these other ones too. And then I ran it back this way onto a nub on the other side there, and then just did a little wrap around. You could fully knot it that way to lock it in place. And you can see, there it is, right up there. So, looking good. So another option, if for some reason you don't have a tree or something that you could tie it off on, I would typically look for a big rock sitting on the ground somewhere. And in this case, it's pretty easy to find one. There's one right in front of me. So I would lift the rock up, put the rope down, and then essentially just wrap your line around the rock a couple times. for the sake of the video anyway, I'm doing it directly underneath. I would look for one far away so that way your line is not directly down. It goes kind of stretched across. So this way, just so you can see what I'm talking about, I lifted up the rock here and literally just wrapped the line around the rock here. Nothing too crazy, nothing too riveting, but it'll work and it should keep your bear hang right like that up in the sky, away from bears and other critters. And then last but certainly not least, this was another one I used here and there where the rocks were kind of too big to move, but I needed to do something, and I found that this worked pretty well. So let's say we got these two big old rocks, let's say they're gigantic big old rocks, sitting next to each other. I would take a tree limb like this, a fallen one, don't be snapping off other trees, and then I would just wrap my line around that, and then I would wedge it between rocks. I'll give you a close-up right now so you can check that out too. So I wrap the line around the branch a couple times. I have it looped off in here as well, so that way it will not pull up, hopefully. And typically I would wedge it this way since the bear bag is actually going up this way, but just for the way these rocks are placed, I couldn't do that. And it's wedged in there nice, and that's not going anywhere. So it's another little way to hang your bag, keep it away from the critters. So then of course, at some point we have to get it back down. In this case, it would be super easy. You just undo the line, in this case, from the tree. So get that out of the way and just lower your bag back down. And there you have it. You've hung your bag and gotten your bag back down. I'll show you also how I went about wrapping my line up so that way it didn't snag on itself. We'll do that right now. All right, so we got our carabiner in line here, and I'm just gonna show you quick how I went about wrapping it up. That way it didn't get all tangled up the next time I used it. Other people may have different ways of doing this. I'm not saying that any of my ways I've shown in this video are like the be all end all, but this was the best way that I could figure out on the trail. So I would take the carabiner right here, slip it between my middle fingers, and I would then space these fingers, the pinky and the thumb, apart. So I would take this right here and wrap it under my thumb. So you're going under and over. So then you cross over there, and then you're going under the pinky and in between the pinky and what's that, the ring finger. So, and then you just repeat that over and over again. So under the thumb, over the thumb, under the pinky, over the pinky, under the thumb, over the thumb, under the pinky, over the pinky. So we're gonna speed this along because we'll be here for 10 days. All right, so we're at the end right there. So I would take it off my hand like that, grab it by the middle. I would make sure that the carabiner part is off to the side there, and then I would just wrap this extra bit right around like that. And for the carabiner part, I would wrap that on its own. So that way you can undo this side for the carabiner, undo this side when you're about to throw it, and that way when you do throw it, everything in theory should just roll out. You shouldn't get any snags on the rope. You shouldn't get any issues. So ta-da! All right, and that's gonna do it, everyone. Hope the video was helpful. Again, this is how I went about hanging my bear bag kit. I know that there are different ways to do it. This is just how I went about it. There are different ways, different strokes for different folks, but that's how I went about doing it. If the video was helpful for you, consider dropping it a like. And if you love the video, consider commenting and subscribing. Perhaps you have your own way of hanging your bear bag. You want to shout it out. Feel free to drop it in the comments. You can follow me on Instagram at Chris Goes Outdoors. And until next time, we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.